Yeah, welcome back to this new Pixel Array tutorial, and today we want to create a Japanese path scene. So let's jump right in. Here we are in a fresh Blender scene, and today we want to create this Japanese style scene. I got the inspiration for this tutorial from William Faulkner. I hope I spelled his name right. And he created a similar scene in Unreal Engine 4, and I thought it was a good idea to create something like this. And if you're interested in the Unreal 4 engine tutorial, I will link this one in the description. And now let's get started with our scene here in Eevee right now. So yeah, first of all, we have to import our first asset, which is always a little bit annoying, but let's get started here. First, we want to import here this Japanese lamp. Let's check out here in the rendering or in the materials. The texturing is not good because some textures are left, and the first thing which we can try is go to external data, find missing files, into the folder textures, and find missing files. And for this one, this works good, I think, but we have to align this one to the center because we want to put this later in some geometry nodes. So let's get rid of the cube, and we have to put this to the 0 here, but let's put all the other stuff here into the main base here. So select these two things here, press shift and drag and drop them into this one here, and now we can easily go to 0 and 0. And maybe let's scale this thing a little bit down because I think it's a little bit too high. So maybe let's go to something like 0.5 here is a good size. Let's put the whole stuff here into a collection. Press M. And for now we can hide this one. Let's go to the next, which will be here the gate. So let's select these Torii gates. All links are in the description here. And yeah, let's select this one. And as we can see, that is really tiny gate here. But first let's delete all the stuff here. We don't need this and this one as well. I think this. All the transform can be deleted here. Now we only have this one, this gate here, and now we can go here into the edit mode by pressing tab, select everything by pressing A, and then when we are pressing G and Z, put this a little bit so it will fit here on the red line here. Now we can leave the edit mode. And now we can scale this one up to a X dimension of maybe something like 5 meters. Okay, that's looking good. Let's go into the shading and let's see. Nothing is on it. What we can do now is go into the shading here and delete all the stuff which is on the Principled BSDF, and now we want to use the Node Wrangler as always. You can find this here in the sub menu. If you don't have it installed, go to add-ons and search for Wrangler and enable this one. Now we can select here the Principled BSDF and press on Add Principled Setup, or press Ctrl Shift and T and select our textures here now. So let's go into the Torii gate textures and select them all here. And now we can see that looks cool here on this one. Okay, let's rename this here to _gate. And let's hide this as well. And the last thing is now the tree. So let's go here to the tree A, source and hero tree. And yeah, by this one we don't have to scale something, but as you can see, the textures are missing, and we can't fix this by only finding the textures. We have to do this here yeah, on every material here now. So when we are selecting here this object 002, we can see that we have 3 materials here: bottom, leaves and branch. And now we have to add here the textures. So let's delete this one here. Principal BSDF, Control Shift and T. And now we have to go into the folder of the tree A textures. And we want to use here the SSBE photogrammetry base material. So let's select this by pressing Control and this one here, these 3, principally BSDF setup. And now we have here our tree. Then we have to go to the leaves, do the same thing again, Control Shift and T. And now we want to select here these 3 things, but the alpha won't import, so we have to do this once again. So now we're having here these leaves on it, but the alpha channel is left. So let's duplicate this one, link this up, press on the 2 because we have only a duplicate, and when we are changing the texture here, it will change here as well. So we have to do this one, and now we can select the alpha, put this down so it's a little bit easier to hook up here this one into the alpha. Yeah, and now we have to go into the options here and change the blend mode to alpha clip, and the shadow map should be alpha hashed because we want to use these with some shadows later, and otherwise it won't work. So and the last one is branch. Like this again. Now we want to use here these SSBE bark 1. So like these 3, and now our tree is done here. So let's select these objects here, hero tree. I think we don't need this, and put this one here into new collection. Ta-da! So and now we can start to build our scene. Let's create a plane and let's change here the dimensions to 11.5 and 30, and then we want to create a cube, and the cube has something like 2.1, 30 and 0.1. This one will be here our path. Yeah, we need a kind of an edge here, so let's duplicate this one again. And I want to change the 2.1 to 0.1 and put this a little bit to the side to 1. Duplicate this one again and let's go to -1. So that is our path here. And now we can start to add the lamps here. So yeah, I want to, as I said, I want to duplicate them in the geometry nodes. So let's start here with a cube. Let's rename this one to GN lamps. I want to hop into the geometry nodes, press new, GN lamps. Yeah, and as always, we need some stuff. So let's search for instance on points, we need a mesh grid, mesh line, sorry, mesh line. And because our light is on an instance, is on a collection, we have to search for an info collection info. So let's put the whole stuff together. So we have to put the mesh line into the points and the geometry into the instance, and the instance to the geometry. Let's select here the lamp, and now we can see that we have our lamps here stacked together. But let's change this. We want to go to endpoints, and I want to make the count to 5. We want to change the start location and the Y to 5, and in the end location to -5 and 0. We want to put this a little bit to the side, so let's add a transform. And let's push this to -0.5 and 5 in the Y. Okay. And yeah, we want to put this over to the other side. That's really easy. We need a join geometry and another transform. And put this here over. And now let's zero this one out and scale this in the X to -1. And yeah, that's a little other way to put this here in the scene. We could use a grid instead of a mesh line, but later when we are adding the lights, it will make sense to put this together on over this way. I will show you this one later. Yeah, let's put our first tree in our scene. So we select here our instance, our collection, and press instance to scene. And now we can add this here on the final points. I want to go with something like -3.8 and a 0.2. Now I want to duplicate this to -4.7 and 6.6, and we want to rotate this to 94.6 and duplicate this again for the left side. And I want to go here with something like -3.3 and 13.8, and let's rotate this to 242. Let's go with 3.3 and 0.8. Let's change the rotation to 94.6 again, but these numbers are always up to you. That's my numbers, which I used here for the tutorial. 4.5 by 6.6. I leave the rotation here on this side. Yeah, don't ask. And the last one will be here, something like 4.1 by 13.8. That's the final position here of my trees, and I want to put them here into a new collection, which is trees. So, and now we can add here our gate again. Okay, let's change the position here of the gate now. So I want to go here with 11.6. That's my position here for the gate. And yeah, for our final shot, let's adjust here the camera now. So I want to go in here with the 0, -5 and 0.8. Let's change it to 90 by 0 by 0, and we want to change here the focal length to 35 millimeters and shift this one to 0.1. That is now our scene here. And yeah, we can start here now with some texturing. First, I want to add here some HDRI. So we can do this easily by going here into the easy HDRI, select your folder. Now I want to use the Shanghai Bond. I put a link into the description for this one as always, and select this one. And yeah, I want to tone this a little bit down. So let's put the sky strength to 0.5. If you don't have this option here in the easy HDRI, you can go into the shading and world, and I think you have this set up then when you're using the HDRI, easy HDRI plugin, and you can change here the values on this add node here. So when we're turning this down, it's the same thing. Okay, that's the HDRI here now. Now we can go ahead and change the materials here for our path. So we want to go ahead here into the shading object and create a new one, which is material path. And let's see, here is the principal BSDF, Control Shift and T, and we want to use here the tiles 87. And let's select here the normal GL roughness, color, occlusion, but we don't have to select this because it won't import now. So we have to duplicate this base color here. Again, the 2, and now we can put this one here into the vector. Now I want to change this to occlusion. Now we need a mixed RGB and put the color into the color 2. And then let's multiply this one here. So multiply and put the factor to 1. Okay, it looks a little bit stretchy here right now, so we can go here into the scale settings and change this one to 5:30, and that looks a little bit better. And we can go ahead here into the roughness and change this one a little bit. By the way, we can enable here the ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections. And if you are a little bit lazy like me, I want to show you really quick my new plugin, which is the quick render settings. And you can do this here with one click, and you have enabled all the stuff which you need here for some Eevee stuff, and I will show you some other stuff later here, but you can use here this shortcut if you want to. Okay, and maybe let's crank this leg slider a little bit up, so we have a little bit more of reflection going on here in the floor or on our path. Okay, so let's go ahead to the side here of the path. Maybe let's search for this one. We want to duplicate this because we have to change the tiling, and we only have to change it from X5 to 1, and that looks a little bit better. Okay, we totally forget here, sorry, by the sides to scale this a little bit up to 0.2. I'm sorry for this one. So let's change this here really quick. So that looks a little bit better. Okay, let's put these material here on this one as well. So path site. Okay, our path is now done, and we can go ahead here with our plane. And for this one, we want to use here another texture set up from ambient CG. Let's select this one, and we want to use here this ground thing. And let's select here the normal GL, this roughness, occlusion, the same thing again. I will do this here a little bit faster, so but I think you know the workflow now. And let's duplicate this here and occlusion again. Mix RGB. Put this one over and multiply, and this one, that's looking better. And now we want to change the tiling here to 5 by 5. Okay, that's okay for now. And yeah, we can go ahead and start with some lightning. So to see a little bit more what's going on, let's create first a little fog cube to make it a little bit more realistic, and I think a little bit more cinematic. So this one will be the fog, and after that we put in the lights. So let's change this to 20 by 22, 23, sorry, and 14. And now we want to change the position to 6.6 by 3.1. And yeah, that's okay for this one. And now let's make a new material, which will be here, fog. And we need another principal BSDFs. We need a volumetric scatter. Put this one into the volumetric. Now we can see we got here some cool light, but I want to change this a little bit down to something grayish here. Okay, now when we are hopping into the camera view, we can see a little bit more what is going on with our light here. And now we can adjust here the light. So first of all, let's change this to an area light. And I want to change this to a bluish color because we want to create a moonlit scene. So we want to use here this this hex code. Now we can put the light onto a new position, which will be 0 by 9 by 8, and rotate this to 0 by 0 by 90. Okay, and we have to increase the power a lot. So let's go here with something like 500,000. So it's really bright here now, no? But we want to change the shape to a rectangle, to a square, and increase the size to 5. And change or enable here the contact shadows. And as you can see, it's really bright now, but we can change this by going here into the volumetrics and enable volumetric shadows. Or you can use my new plugin and enable here the volumetric shadows. Now we can see that looks a little bit better here. To make the scene a little bit more cinematic, I want to block the light a little bit, so we only have the light here in the center. Maybe let's hide our rust here for now. And to do this, we want to create some cubes. And these cubes are black without a roughness and a specular, so it's really dark. First, let's change here the size of this one. So we want to go with something like 5.5 by 21 by 5.5. And I want to put this up here to 3 by 6 by 9. And when we're going here into the camera view, we can see that the light is blocking here right now. And let's duplicate this one here again. And I want to put this here a little bit over and push this here to minus 3.4. And now you can see that the light is only going through these two cubes here. To make it a little bit more contrasty now, we can go here into the color management and change the look to very high contrast. And now we have here these cool blue going on. That's the main light here now for the scene. Yeah, we have to make this a little bit more cooler, but the first light will be here now. A light for our Torii gate. let's use this light here, and maybe let's rename this one here to Moonlight. Want to duplicate this one here, Shift and D, and we want to use this here to as a light gate. And yeah, let's change here some settings with this one here as well. So we have to go ahead and change the new position, which will be 0 by 12.6 and 2.5. And that's really bright here right now. And we want to change this to -90 by 0 by 0. And yeah, it's burning now. And to fix this, we can go here into the light settings, and because we want to create a cool rim light for our gate, we can turn down here the volume to 0. So to do this, we have to go here into the rectangle, and maybe let's change this to 5 by 2.5. And I want to create or enable here the custom distance and change this to 2.5. Now we can see that we are having here this cool rim light here for our Torii gate. Yeah, this this low res foggy here, which you can see. We will fix this after a wide setup here. Yeah, and the last one for this scene is obviously the lamps. And the cool thing is now we don't have to go to every light here and duplicate the lights. We only have to make the changes here or add the lights here into our light here, which we duplicated with the geometry nodes. So let's create a new light, new point light. First of all, we have to put this one here, let's see where it is, into the right height. So when we are putting this here into the right height, so it will be here in the center of our light. And now let's change the color to something warm. I want to increase the power to something like 30. And yeah, let's leave everything like it is. I think the radius is okay as well, or maybe let's change the radius a little bit to 0.05. So that looks a little bit better. Yeah, as always, enable contact shadows, so it's a little bit realistic here. And yeah, now we can put this one here into our lamp collection. So when we are putting this one here inside, now you can see that every lamp has its own light, which is really cool. So we have only to adjust one light. Okay, and now when we want to create a cool rim light for our lamps, because when we are seeing here this scene, the moonlight will come from the top, and yeah, it will be cool when we are having here some kind of light here on each edge to pop this a little bit more. And yeah, that's one thing which did William Faulkner in his tutorial as well. So but to do this, we can do a little bit more a trick, because yeah, we don't have to do this on every lamp as we did here with the light in our lamp. So what we have to do now is add a new light, which will be an area light. Let's change this area light to the same color which we used here for the moonlight. And now we want to go ahead with a 500. Maybe let's put this a little bit up so we can see what's going on. And I don't want to have it in the volumetric, because we want to lit here only the lamp. And now let's change the shape to a rectangle, and I want to go ahead with 0.2 by 2.9. I'll make this visible, and yeah, we can change this here to -90. And now we want to create here yeah, new custom distance, or use the custom distance with a tiny distance of 1.4, and yeah, let's enable contact shadows. So now we can adjust here the position of this one to 0.3 by 0.2 by 1.5, and now we can see that we're having here this light here on the side. We are putting this into the lamp as well. We can see that we have here now this light on every lamp. We will fake this a little bit more here, and we can adjust the position of this light a little bit more or back if you want to. So it will be a little bit more realistic. Maybe let's put this a little bit more up. So I think something like this is cool. I want to say this here really quick now for the geometry nodes, because we mirrored here this side to the other side. We only have to adjust the light on for the left side, and this one is cloned or duplicated here, mirrored over, so we don't have to stress or to think on the other side. I hope you get it. Yeah, that is our light here for the lamps. And yeah, for some final tweaks, I added here some trees here or some foreground. So maybe let's do this here really quick. So to have a little bit more here in the front view when you're looking here in our alley or our path. So we can go ahead here and select one of these trees here, and maybe let's go ahead here with this one, duplicate this one again, and I want to put this here a little bit back to something like 2.8 by -5.6, and the Z value to -2. Now we can see that we are having here these leaves in our camera view, and let's rotate this to 71.3, and let's duplicate this one here again to the other side, selecting this one, and I want to go with -4.3, -5.5 and -2 as well, and rotation is off nearly. So let's see, now we are having here some of the leaves here in our scene, and now we can go ahead and fix here this this low pixelated stuff. So to get a really high-res result of this, we can go here into the EV settings and change the volumetrics. So we can change here the tile size. Now you can see that we get some really sharp shadows. You can increase the samples, but yeah, that will increase here the performance for this one. And we can change here the shadows here as well. So we can change this to high bit depth and change the cube size up to something like this. And now you can see that we are having here these sharp shadows here on the floor. And when you increase the render settings here as well, you will get a good result of this one. If you want to have this a little bit more easier, and if you don't want to step all the stuff down here, I want to show you again a little more of my new plugin. So we can easily go here into the quick render settings and change this to render mode. And you can see that the settings are changing to a high to a high render mode, so it's a little bit more laggy because we are having now some high resolution stuff here going on. Tile sizes too, samples, you can change the samples if you want to, but that's more performant. And you can change the cube size as well for the shadows. So that's only for the rendering mode, so that was really high now. So maybe let's change this back here to something like this. But if you want to make some changes in your scene, and your scene is really laggy here right now, and you don't want to change this everything down here, you can only change, or you can quick go here into the work mode, and you have really low res stuff going on, and make your stuff which you want to change, and then you're done. You can easily go to the render settings again and render your image. So that's all for this one. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe to my channel, and if you want to support me, check out my Gumroad or Blender Market page, and see you there, and bye.